Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Sorry, Tom. I that was all I could. That's all I could get through. I forgot what I was going to say after that. Totally didn't plan very well.
Okay, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to change a little bit if you'd like. How you're feeling in the day.
Hey, Tom, I got a crazy idea. It's a Saturday, and we tend to get people on Saturday that may not know us really well. So can you sort of explain to them what we're trying to do, big picture?
With today's antidote or with the weekly wrap-up?
With today's antidote and the whole bit. Yep.
Certainly. Well, first off, if you haven't joined us before, I'm Tom Brush. This is Bob Graham. And this is today's antidote. It's a daily broadcast every day but Sunday, where we try to just talk through some of the things that are happening in our world and in the world of our clients and other people that we know in the business, leadership, and organizational area, trying to help them figure out how to identify that one thing, the one thing that might help them move forward. And it all started when the pandemic started. And that's when we came up with Antidote, because everybody at that point was looking for an antidote, whether it was an antidote for the virus or an antidote for their business, for their organization, for their team, for themselves as a business owner, leader, or just an individual, because we were all a little stuck and trying to figure out how we were going to take our next step. So Bob and I decided we would just get on here every day and talk a little bit about the things that are going on and try to help you take that next step. Find that one thing that you can hold on to, maybe today, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe next week or next year, but it would just be something that you could add, some thought, insight, some knowledge, experience, or perspective that will change what's real for you. And so this is episode 259. Hard to believe. 9. I got
159, yes.
And we've been talking about change all week. So this is our weekly wrap-up, where we try to provide a little bit about the week and our key takeaways, lessons learned from that. So do you want to kick us off, Bob?
Sure. That was a great summary. And every time you tell that story or I tell that story, I find it fascinating that it just came from us taking an action, and one action led to another and led to another. And it's sort of like we just took steps, and the thing to me, when we talk about change, is the idea that we can either look at it and go, oh, this is going to mean a whole bunch of aggravation, problems, and complexity, or, wow, there's an opportunity here. And I think you and I tried something this week. It just coincided with the week where we were talking about change, where we started to use Clubhouse. And we did a Clubhouse room the other day, and it was a great experience. And before the program today, we were talking about using Clubhouse in different ways, more powerful ways. And rather than sit and build a long, elaborate plan and analyze it to death and go to experts and get a consultant and all that, you and I just had a meeting and took an action, knowing that if it wasn't the right action would emerge, or something would emerge. And I think that's the thing about change this week that I've really started to think more about, is it's taking actions, and the change will find you often. And you don't have to be so worried about the negative effects of things. Because, I think if we look at that Clubhouse, fortunately, it can't be ever brought back because it's one and done. But if you look at that Clubhouse, I think in 6 months, you would say, wow, you guys didn't really have a clue what you were doing then. And I think that's the evolution that we go through as people, as business owners, and as people serving our customers. And I think those are three distinct areas where change is constantly confronting us.
Sure. And I think it's hard. I think we feel like we don't know what to do. And for us, we had never done that before, right? So we didn't really have what was real was we hadn't really done it. And we could have hemmed and hawed and tried to figure out what to do, as you shared, or we could have just done it, not worried about the results, understand them. And then what do we learn from that? And how do we move forward? And, and I think when we're so often we think about taking the next step. Well, the next step, all it really does is change something that we have been doing. And we understand what happened. And then we're able to, from that change, take the next step. And I think so often we look at change as this big, huge thing down the road or that's impacting us right now. And how are we ever going to deal with it? And I think the way we deal with change is the same way. We take one step, make an action, understand what happened, what is the lesson we learned, and how does that impact our next step? And then we take the next step. We're going to learn something, we'll change, and then move forward. And I think what's interesting is that, when we make little changes, people are okay with that. I'll just do a little tweak here, an adjustment there, or whatever. And yet, if it's a big change or it's a big impact, we get stuck on it. We get worried about it. We start thinking about what are the results going to be, what we judge the results we had, rather than how do we move forward. As somebody was sharing,
the judgment of others as well, right?
Sure.
Not only do we judge ourselves, but what are people going to think? What if I get this wrong? People are going to think I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not in charge of things the way I need to be if I get this thing wrong.
And as and as a part of that is some things are so out of our control. I was talking with someone, having a sort of LinkedIn discussion with someone about, last year, and their spouse lost their job, lost their business, and that was a significant impact. And I think if we get stuck in the judgment of that, it's really hard to move forward. And I've been in that situation. I had lost jobs. And when I just wallowed in what happened, why did it happen, and not in a way to understand, to move forward, but more in a way to beat myself up about what did I do wrong? It was more about, a judgment rather than an understanding and figuring out how to move forward.
And it probably turned out, like for me, one of the best things that could happen to you.
Yeah, and I never knew that. I only learned that later. That goes back to results. Is the immediate results were not great. And it took me, and I didn't really understand. When I look back now, the lessons learned from that are extremely valuable. I couldn't be where I am and think about the things the way I do without having gone through that experience. It changed what was real for me. And once I started to stop focusing on the judgment of it and start focusing on lessons learned, it made a huge difference.
I remember those days. I remember we went out shortly after that happened, and we had a difficult discussion.
Absolutely.
But that's part of the process too. And I think some changes that we undergo, we don't understand what happens with them immediately. It takes some time. It takes some distance. And there are things now that happened to me 20, 30 years ago that I'm just now starting to understand. There are things in business that I could have sworn I learned in school. I didn't understand them the way I understand them now. Some of the writing things that we've been doing, I studied writing. I've taught writing. It's getting better because of time and that knowledge, experience, and perspective. You keep adding to the suitcase, and lo and behold, if you put enough stuff in your suitcase and you go on a trip, you've got an outfit for every occasion. You brought an umbrella, whereas someone just planning to go to Cancun probably isn't thinking about taking an umbrella. Oh, it's sunny all the time. Well, it does rain there.
A lot. Sometimes I have an experience of a lot of rain in an open car. Not good.
Yeah. I want to throw some comments up there from Tim, always a wise man. Time for Bob Graham to get some blinds for his back porch. Yep. And by the time I get the blinds, the sun will have moved out of the way. So
until next year.
Until next year, yeah. I'm wondering if I'll be doing it here next year. I would love nothing more than to be doing it in my office,
Okay.
my formal office.
Yes.
And then we have this comment. I didn't see. I'm trying to figure out who provided it, and now I can't read it because I took it off screen. Does anyone really know what they're doing when they try something new? If we just learn from our experience, then the next time we'll know a bit more. It's an iterative process that promotes growth, but is not always comfortable. So, pretty much sums up our week. 6 days squished into 2 great sentences. Right?
I think there's 3 there, but that's okay.
1, 2.
Just saying.
No, I would have done it to you. I agree. It's 3. Thanks for correcting me, Tom. See, I can learn. It's an iterative process. It was 2 sentences and then became 3.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is that I think we always want it to happen now, right? We want to understand that change immediately. And we want to be able to celebrate that, or so that we can, think that that's the way we're going to do it. When in reality, it's just the next step in that process to where are we trying to get to ultimately. Because again, we're never going to get it perfect.
And we want it to be perfect, right? I was going to say, we want it to be perfect. We think
Sure.
This change, this is going to be the game changer. This thing's going to finally solve the riddle. I can feel it deep inside me. If we go into it with that expectation, what's going to happen? It's almost a guarantee that we're disappointed.
Yeah, we're just going to judge the results. We're going to judge it wasn't quite perfect. This didn't go right. It's fun. It's like doing a video. If you've ever done a video, the number of times you do it to try to get it perfect, because things always change. Our mind doesn't sit still while we say, okay, I am just going to completely, even if I'm going to read my script, well, maybe I lose my place. Something pops in my head and I look a different way, or something happens around me that didn't happen before. The dog barks. My kid walks through the screen. It's going to happen. And I think so when we want perfection, it's a struggle because it's probably not going to get there. If we just keep taking steps towards perfection, we're going to learn a whole lot more.
Steps towards perfection, Tom, or steps towards better using what we understand?
Well, I mean, yes, we use what we understand, hoping that it will be perfect and knowing that it never will. It's like that, it's like the rainbow. I want to get to the end of the rainbow. Well, there never really is an end of the rainbow. But the search for it allows us to say, okay, I understand what didn't quite go right this time. Okay, great. What's my next step? That I believe is moving me closer to, every day on the show, we hope that we are moving closer to the perfect show, knowing that doesn't exist.
What?
Yet that drives us to continue to tweak it, to find a way to do it a little bit differently, to find a way that maybe is more effective, attracts more people to watch, gets more comments, whatever it might be. That is the constant process, that iterative process of trying to create the perfect show that we know doesn't exist.
I'm trying very hard to eliminate the word perfect from my life because I find it is the curse. It is the thing I search for. It's the thing I strive for. So nothing will ever reach that level. So I'm trying to move more towards the idea of just doing something, understanding what went well, what didn't go well, what would change, using your questions, and then how can I evolve from that? And being more about that next version of something, not, okay, now I learned all these things. This next one should be absolutely perfect in every way. It's just not.
And it's interesting you talk about that because I've actually started a list of words that I am trying to change my vocabulary to not use those words.
Perfect's one of them, right?
Perfect is one of them. Failure is another. But is another. There are word right. It's not right. It's real. And
then he's got a phrase, you're right, Bob, that he's put on that list. He hasn't told us. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I wouldn't use the word right, first of all.
Fair enough. There, another one, right.
I would say that's correct, Bob. Nice job, Bob. Any other things you wanted me to share?
No, we're good. Maybe that's a topic for next week.
Maybe.
Words that could be
taken out of our vocabulary.
Well, I was going to say inflammatory words that inflame something in us that, if you're inflamed, you're infected, you're not at your peak.
Right.
And I think it's an interesting discussion. And as we look at change more, and if we get more comfortable with change, words like perfect, words like right, start to move off the table.
Yeah.
Look at that. And I always like when we have a clue what we're going to do next week on Saturday morning. For those of you who think Tom and I have mapped this out for the next 6 months, au contraire.
Correct. Well, one of the things we have mapped out is we do have a networking event coming up next Thursday. So I thought I'd get
Bravo for that segue. That was a good one, Tom.
Thursday, the 25th at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we'll do our Renegade Roundup, which is completely different. It's different than networking you've been to. I've been to a number of events in the last few weeks, and I have not found anything similar. It's an opportunity for you, just like if you were in person, to have one-on-one conversations with people so you get to better understand who they are. And the conversations aren't just about what's your business, give me your 30-second elevator speech. It's really more about how do I get to know these people, which is the first step in that know, like, and trust process. So we hope that you will join us. You can find more information about it inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. And again, that'll be this Thursday, the 25th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We hope you will join us. Anything for the week to wrap up the week, Bob?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to that networking event. It's one of my favorite things we do. It's just so great to get to meet people and really understand them, not just, I'm an accountant and I do tax prep and blah, blah, blah. We're really busy now. But I'm an accountant and I got into accounting because I always liked doing numbers and I wanted to help people better understand the tax laws. Wow, okay, that's cool.
Fair enough. All right, everyone. So I hope that you enjoyed our wrap up of our discussion of the week of change. If there's other things you want to go back and look at the conversations during the week, they are all inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook page. They are also posted on our Ring of Renegade business page. Just there isn't the other conversation. So really, if you're a member of the business page, you might want to join the group, because the group is where we have additional conversations, where we help create a community, where people are talking about what does it mean to be, what does change mean? How do I figure out what lessons have I learned? There's some accountability for what you're trying to accomplish. So we hope that you will join our growing community. It's easy to do. Just search for Ring of Renegades in Facebook, and then just tell us why you're a renegade. Ask to join, and you can be a part of our growing community. So we hope that we will see you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group at the networking event next Thursday, or we will see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great weekend.
Carving your own path is tough. You want and need a community to offer you insights and advice, share inspiration, provide support, and save you time and money. But where do you find all that? Here's the easy answer: the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners identify their next steps. Here's some of what you will find at the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Just go to ringofrenegades.com and join today. Find and accomplish those next steps.